another great episode of StarGirl. If you want to see more of my StarGirl reviews, right here from my other StarGirl reviews. But before I get into this review anyway, hit that subscribe button, turn that bell notification to get notified when videos like this and so much more drop. Now, StarGirl, Chapter 5, titled Summer School. Yeah, now let's get started. I have, a couple notes here and bullet points I want to gloss over. And then let's talk about the pros and the cons. And then you know how this review goes. I'm going to wrap it up with an all-nice bow, and I'm going to give you guys my score. And yeah, let's get started. Now we have Cameron a lot in this episode of StarGirl. And that's one of the things I kind of want to talk about is the Cameron and Courtney stuff, because Cameron was actually really featured a lot in this episode. And, his relationship with Courtney is starting to blossom and go places. Now I'm interested to see where that goes, because at the end of the episode, we have him kind of more or less, having his ice powers activated. I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. And, because Cindy is going to tell him the truth about what really happened to his father. So I'm wondering if he's going to jump over to the ISA or stick with the JSA and finally become part of their team. And there's also coalesce of Cindy in this episode kind of recruiting or trying to more or less recruit him, but that didn't really work out. And he was 1 second away from getting sliced in half. But yeah, what we got of Cindy in this episode was not a whole lot, but what we got of her was still great. Yeah, now let's move on to the JSA versus Eclipso part of this episode. Now, a little thing before I want to get into that, we have, Pat kind of more or less recruiting Mike or beginning to recruit Mike into the JSA. So I'm wondering if that is going to go anywhere, or we have to imagine that would, but not in the way that Mike wanted to. He's going to get more involved with the JSA, but not in the ways that he wanted to. So I'm also wondering if that's going to, all this not being here, not with him being involved in the JSA as he wanted to, would kind of switch him over to the ISA, the ISA part, the ISA. So it's really interesting to see what Mike's intentions is going to be in this kind of back half of this season of StarGirl. We're going to have to see and wait. But yeah, let's move on to the Eclipso versus the JSA part of this episode. Now, in the earlier parts of this episode, we see that the art teacher, Mr. I forgot what's his name. I forgot what the art teacher name was, but he gets taken over by Eclipso, and he's in the school kind of doing all types of chaos and stuff in the building. And the JSA arrives at the school to kind of find the Black Diamond and take him down. And yeah, it was a really cool scene. It wasn't a whole lot of JSA going on. But yeah, so Courtney kind of finds a way to kind of more or less incapacitate Eclipso, or more or less, I don't know what she did, but she kind of took Eclipso down. But yeah, I think this is going to lead into Courtney figuring out a way for her staff to kind of defeat Eclipso more or less than the JSA themselves. But yeah, the visual effects, in this whole JSA scene for Eclipso was great. It wasn't a whole lot of action, but what we got is we kind of have to imagine is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Eclipso versus the JSA. Now we also got the Shade in this episode. Now every time he comes on screen, it's just fantastic. I love the character and the whole demeanor of the Shade. Now we only got one scene of him and Barbara, but what we got of him was great as well. I love the Shade, and it's going to be interesting to see what his motives are and what his real intentions are and what he's going to do with the Black Diamond and the JSA, and all of that stuff was great. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of this episode. Now, let's start off with the pros. I love seeing the JSA going and being the JSA. I love them going out and to fight crime and to fight Eclipso and doing JSA stuff because we haven't really got that in the previous episodes of StarGirl. So that was really great to see. Another pro is Mike. I'm really happy for Mike that he's more included into the JSA stuff. You know, I think it's time for Mike to level up from last season, him being more involved in the JSA stuff, him being, well, I don't know where Mike's story is going to go with the JSA. We have to imagine that sooner or later he's going to kind of take the place of Pat and kind of get into the robot suit. Well, I wish that was going to happen. Well, I wish that was going to happen for him. But I don't know. We're going to have to see where Mike goes in this whole being involved in the JSA stuff. But yeah, I really like Mike being involved in more JSA stuff. Another part is the Shade. Now, the Shade in this episode and then the Shade just in general, as I said in the earlier parts of this review, he's great. His whole demeanor. I'm very interested to see what his goal is and what his intentions are in Blue Valley and what he's going to do with this whole Eclipso and JSA stuff that he has going on. But yeah, now let's talk about the cons of this episode. The not necessarily terrible stuff, but the kind of stuff that I didn't like. But yeah, I don't really like the JSA not really doing anything. It's kind of more or less them putting on their costumes, but not fighting, not really doing anything. Just kind of standing around and kind of letting Courtney do all the work. I don't really like that aspect. It's kind of them going around in their costume and not doing anything. Another part is that it doesn't seem to be... They seem to leave us with character moments, pieces, but they don't really connect to anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like Yolanda has a story, but that's then dropped, but picked up in another episode, then they drop it. Rick's storyline, we don't really know what Rick's storyline is or where that's going to go. Beth's storyline, if you're interested in Beth's storyline of this season, it's great. But for me personally, I don't really care about her storyline. It just seems like they pick up with individual storylines and then they drop it, and then they pick up with it and then they drop it. It's kind of like, they kind of flip-flopping with the individual character arcs, It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. But really, that's all I really had to say about the cons part of this episode and really just StarGirl as a whole. But yeah, I want to kick it off to you guys. What do you think of this week's episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Where do you think StarGirl is going to go with this whole Eclipso stuff from here on out? Where do you think Cameron's story is going to go from here? Him becoming Icicle Jr., I guess. But yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. With that being said, hit that subscribe button. With that being said, make sure you check out more of my StarGirl videos right here. But yeah, with that being said, hit that subscribe button, turn that bell notification to get notified when videos like this and so much more drop. With that being said, I'll see all you JSA members in the next video.